Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. I think you're going to be seeing this on Friday, March 25th. So thank you for being here, for the support, the new subscribers, welcome. So I just want to take a moment. I was super impressed with the comments that came in regarding the NATO video. Um, because you know what? Everybody's comments were well thought out, they were intelligent, they were informative. And even though there were sort of different sides of the equation, or different ideas or opinions, everybody really had some really smart, informative comments and thoughts. And so thank you for that, because you know what, as you read through the comments, there was all kinds of information that was sort of being offered by the commenters, that maybe a lot of us didn't know. And so I just really grateful that that's how that turned out. Overall, I think that the sort of overriding message of the whole NATO video was that they didn't do enough when they should have. There's too many countries, including NATO, who are just running scared of Putin, but they are moving forward and doing what they can. And secondarily, there's a lot of covert stuff going on that we just are not privy to, and that's okay, right? That really is okay. For those of you who maybe have not come across it yet, if you go into my playlist, there is a positive energy circle for Ukraine. So you may be interested in taking a look at that and joining that energy circle to continue to send, protection, et cetera, to the people of Ukraine and to those, of course, who are helping and supporting them. Okay, so while we have been like really truly fixated on what is going on in Ukraine, and rightly so, it's a horrible situation. We kind of have not been paying too much attention to, the former guy and his family. And I just thought it might be interesting to take a peek and see how he's doing. I mean, if nothing else, it could provide some, comic relief in these stressful times, right? Let's take a look. So things have not actually been going all that well for him. The courts are not siding with him. He has to submit DNA in that, what is it, Jean E. Carroll's defamation case. There were documents and stuff that he needed to hand over, and they only handed over some of them, and then they said, well, it's going to take way more time, and they hired somebody to do this. But you know what, if the company wasn't instructed to follow the letter of the law, which obviously they weren't, it's just another delay tactic. So he's aggravating people up and down the judiciary. I don't see that that's a smart or savvy move. And, his rallies, I don't think, are doing anywhere near as well as he wants us to believe. And in them, he doesn't look, I don't know, particularly healthy or vibrant, So let's just take a look and see what we find when we take a look at the former guy and perhaps his family. Hang on a second. Oh, never mind. Just a delivery to my door, but he didn't need to ring the doorbell, so we're good. Okay, so let's just take a look and see what we can find out about that family. There's a lot of this crap about, if I were still president, I would have told Russia to just knock it off, and they wouldn't have done this, which is beyond laughable. If he was still president, the U.S. would have been yanked out of NATO faster than he could spit, and it would be a very, very different and even more devastating situation. Come on down. I have a question. Okay. Here we go. Update regarding Trump and family. Update regarding Trump and family. Update regarding Trump and family. Bottom of the deck. For those of you who maybe are listening but not watching, it's the Ten of Swords. All right, let's see what we see here. We've got the King of Swords, Eight of Pentacles, Seven of Swords, and the Page of Swords. Okay, so let's start here. The family, and specifically the patriarch, are not doing well in the courts. Okay, I mean it seems to be boiling down these days to a basic argument of that judge is Democratic and so we can't get a fair shake. Like what kind of a defense is that? I don't think that flies. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. The people around them, okay, so the lawyers, the whoever's in that still remaining in that inner circle, they are not able to get the stuff done they want to get done because he continues to put up massive roadblocks. He continues to have juvenile temper tantrums. He continues to be all about, I know the law better than anybody, which of course is not true. And more information is going to continue to come out regarding theft. So whether it's theft of documentations, whether it's theft of money, whether it is, in some cases, theft of time by delay, but the information is going to continue rolling out and it's not going to be good for him or them. So one of the things that has happened kind of really quietly is we've been preoccupied with what's going on in Eastern Europe is the fact that the committees continue, the investigations continue, things continue. We just aren't hearing about it because it doesn't have such a prominent place in the news right now. But the reality is, the J6 committee is now looking at some significant, criminal charges pertaining to the former guy and his behavior, or frankly, lack of action. On January 6th, I think something. What are they calling it? A criminal dereliction of duty, I think, but don't quote me on that. But in any case, things are starting to heat up. And you know what? In a kind of crazy way, one of the very few rainbows of the situation as it's going on now is, in a lot of ways, it's sort of taken the focus off of what that administration, et cetera, did. And very quietly, more and more is coming out. I mean, there is talk about the fact that Mark Meadows actually committed voter fraud. I'm not clear on that. I think he voted in an area where he shouldn't have. I'm not sure, but that's being investigated. And so more and more, as time quietly goes on and things quietly unfold, you are seeing more and more people caught in that sort of spider's web. And so, and you know what, in a way, I got to say, I think it's a good thing because the lack of sort of anger and frustration, et cetera, has sort of diminished a little bit. And that's a good thing because what it does is it allows the more positive energy, the more clarity to come into the situation. Listen, we all know that eventually this family is going down hard. But the more we fret over it, in a lot of cases, the worse we make it. And so, it just allow things to continue to come out, allow secrets to continue to come out, And know that they're going to. And you know what? And know beyond a shadow of a doubt that there's going to be more nonsensical rantings coming from the office of 45, because he has no ability to control his childlike temper tantrum responses. So there's that. It feels it feels sort of as if, how can I say this? For anybody else, we would say that literally the writing on the wall has been written on the wall for, about a year and a half now, maybe two, maybe even three. But it feels like for those in that inner circle, they're really just starting to grasp the magnitude of it. They're only now just starting to grasp the sheer volume of what is getting stacked against them. And he is becoming more and more, um, erratic is not the word because he's always been erratic, but more and more aggressive in his responses. So literally, if he says the sky is purple and you say, I think it might be a little blue, you're his enemy. Okay, like it's that simple. And so there are people around him who, as during the time of the election, did not give him the accurate news because nobody wanted to be the messenger that got shot. And there's some of that still going around. And so what's happening is for some people, him and that immediate circle, is they're only now starting to get some clarity about exactly how deep this goes and how much trouble they're in. And they're still trying to muddy the waters with a lot of nonsense. That's not working for them. And all that's happening is they are really getting on judges' last nerves because they are just pulling stunt after stunt after stunt. And it's not working for them. And that's the only card they have left to play. So again, they're getting news that they just don't want to hear. And as that news continues to come, they really are starting to feel sort of the walls close in on them. They're starting to realize that they're in, I think, way more trouble than they thought they were. In some ways, they were sort of operating under a bit of a illusion that, oh, well, they haven't come after us. Oh, well, they don't seem to be looking at us yet. So maybe we're safe. Maybe we're just going to be covered or blessed by the position the family holds or held. And maybe they're just going to leave us alone. But as time goes on, more and more, they're recognizing that, yeah, that's not exactly going to happen. That's not what is happening. And it's like the pressure, the anxiety, the chaos, as I step into that energy, it is just like I don't like a teacup being whipped around by a tornado, right? I mean, it's just the energy is just almost crazed, okay? Because there's nothing anybody can do or say that is going to comfort him except tell him lies. Even though, even though it has felt like this has been dragging on since, the beginning of time, it hasn't. And even though we all want things to move faster, we intellectually, if not emotionally, recognize that it needs to move forward in a way so that there are no loopholes. There are no mistaken escape valves. Okay? But it's going to start moving ahead. No, that's not accurate because it has been moving ahead. We're going to start hearing more about it. I'm not sure when the sort of official date is, if it got moved or shifted, in terms of when the committee wants to take their hearings into prime time. But it feels like in some ways that's going to be upon us, kind of almost like sooner than we recognize, because again, we have been preoccupied, with other crazy things going on in the world. They're not going to be able to undo it. They're not. Victory goes to those who are trying to create a level of emotional security and safety for the company. The victory goes to those who are trying to put things back, if you will, on a bit more of an even keel. And it's an interesting thing because every time I say go back to, or that's not actually accurate, because they're going to go forward to reestablish the very best of what came before, but start to make significant headway in strengthening and securing what went on before, so that now that they know all of these loopholes, so that's not going to happen again. They're not going to be as susceptible to it. In some ways, reading about them is sort of like wash, rinse, repeat, because there is a very distinct pattern. The law comes after them. They yell and scream. They spew out a bunch of communications nonsense that doesn't make any sense. And then the next thing comes out, and it's the exact same pattern over and over again, because they are all so emotional, and they have shut down any avenue of every avenue of calm, rational behavior. So apparently, that lawyer that we were talking about a while ago, who Trump hired as part of his legal team, and she used to apparently do the legal work for a bowling alley. Well, apparently she has now become the head of the legal team. I guess she must be attractive. That's so. Apparently what's happening now is that the established lawyers for Trump are now sort of walking around going, what the blank is going on, and what is she doing? So Trump is actually losing, or is in jeopardy of losing, the few people who at least had a strategy. It wasn't a good strategy. It wasn't a winning strategy, but at least it was a strategy. But you have somebody in there now who has absolutely no experience at all in this area, and that is what is heading the Trump legal team. So they've created even more disastrous problems for themselves. And I think that they're recognizing that they can't bully their way through this. They can't throw money at it. They can't anything. They're going to have to sit up and face the consequences. And the consequences are going to continue to come out. The information is going to continue to come out. And it's not going to be great for them. In the short term, I think that what you're going to see his hold on the GOP diminishing significantly. His strength is diminishing because of some of the pro-Putin stances and comments and remarks he has made. It was a bridge too far. Now, there were apparently 8 members of the GOP, including Matt Gaetz and that Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I don't know who the other 6 were, who voted against issuing sanctions on, I think it was the Russian oil or something. But all of the rest of them voted with the Democrats. They shuffled themselves somehow over to the right side of history. And more you're going to see his diminished power when it comes to the party itself. And that may finally give some of these people a solid bone in their noodle spine to at least think about, going in a slightly different direction than completely tearing down democracy. He's not going to win against, he and they are not going to win against the institutions that they are currently fighting. He did his level best to destroy them, but he didn't win. He didn't succeed. And we know he had a Russian sugar daddy who was paying for stuff and manipulating stuff left, right, and center. He still didn't win. Let's take some comfort from that. Also, by the way, did you guys hear? This was like so cool. Talk about irony. Apparently, Paul Manafort was just removed from a plane trying to use a revoked passport. He was trying to get to Dubai, which apparently is where some of the Russian oligarchs are hanging out because they're safe there. So that's really interesting. But again, it just goes to show the arrogance of these people who truly, truly believe they're absolutely beyond the law. They can just do whatever they want. Well, a revoked passport is a revoked passport, and apparently that means you just can't fly to Dubai, Manafort. Okay. So, again, I say, there may be some minor wins that he gets along the way, but overall, in a crazy way, it's not even going to be all of the mountains of evidence that they have against him. That's there, absolutely, and it's going to work. But part of what's actually going to bring the structure down is the continual bickering and arguing and static that goes on within the family and within that legal circle of his and that immediate circle of his. They're getting closer and closer, whether it's the investigators, whether it's J6, they're getting closer and closer and closer. And they are really, really starting to sweat. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of stress. Again, I think there's a lot of perhaps health issues or concerns that are being kept hidden. I suspect this is primarily with senior. They're going to keep trying to push forward, and you know what? It's not going to serve them. It's just not. The burden they are carrying is too heavy, and it is heavy because it is wrong. It was illegal. It was theft. It was immoral. It was whatever it was. But at some point, that just has to stop. So here we have it. There's his card, the Fool. And here is the Four of Pentacles saying, it doesn't matter how much he tries to hoard. It doesn't matter how much he tries to contain. It's not going to work. He is going to continue to carry on and foolishly, literally send himself right off a cliff. And the Wheel of Fortune continues to turn against him. Oh, they all worry about money. They all worried about losing their pretend fortune. But they're going to. Here's the other card for him. The Greedy King. And here's Judgment. Okay, so I think what we can take away from this is the fact that it's not going well for them. And it's going to continue to not go well for them. Because They don't deserve for it to go well. They've broken so many laws and shattered so many norms that it cannot be allowed to stand, and it will not be allowed to stand. Continued patience is needed, but trust me, they kind of all feel like they are dancing on a hot tin roof. Okay? There's no calm, cool place to land with clarity or grace. They're just dancing closer and closer to their own private infernos. And because they're not very smart, they haven't figured out they should probably stop adding fuel to that very fire. Thank you for being here. Your comments, your support, all of it is brilliant. It's the weekend. Make sure you take some time, decompress, enjoy the sun if you're lucky enough to have sunshine where you are, and just take a couple steps back. It's hard to keep our equilibrium in these times because there is so much stress and grief and pain in the world, and we're absorbing it more and more and more. So we need to do everything we can to sort of step back every once in a while and just allow ourselves to recharge. Do not forget, the Pick Your Crystal weekly readings will be released on Saturday morning. Until next time, take care, be well. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.